2 minutes after 7 o'clock in Nairobi and across East Africa, it's yet another time for your world here on NTV. A very good morning to you, and thank you for allowing us to kickstart your morning. We have a fantastic show lined up for you this morning as we talk about something that is very much pressing in our society, in our country today. That is the issue of unemployment. But this morning we'd like to ask ourselves what the digital economy can actually do to solve that problem, because the challenge of unemployment among the youth in Kenya is not anything new. If anything, the situation is getting even worse. Data from the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics, that is KNBS, released in September, shows that despite evidence that the economy was beginning to recover from the ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic, some 235,000 jobs were actually lost between January and March this year. The fast-growing digital economy has created new job opportunities, but even so, relatively few young people possess the skills needed in the digital economy, and employers around the world are struggling to find skilled professionals equipped with technical and soft skills that they desire. So this morning, let's talk about unemployment and the digital economy. Coming up, only 1 week to go in the mass voter registration exercise, and the IEBC is concerned by the low turnout. At least 7 killed, over 100 injured as the soldiers opened fire on crowds opposing a military takeover in Sudan.
Can increase Nigeria's GDP by 29 billion United States dollars.
Nigeria, Africa's biggest economy, becomes the first African country to launch its own digital currency.
The digital economy is really a growing sector.
And youth and unemployment, as I promised, what can the digital economy do to help us reduce the numbers of unemployed people in the country? That's what we talk about this morning. Unemployment, technology, the digital economy, everything around that. That's what we do this morning, and we want you to help us dissect all the information in and around this conversation for the day. We ask you, do you think online jobs can help reduce unemployment in Kenya? Do you think online jobs can help reduce unemployment in Kenya? Help us by sending us your feedback on social media at NTV Kenya, at Victor Kiprop _. Use the hashtag #NewNorm also that we can see the tweets that you're sending us. If you're not on Twitter, you can send that feedback on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Remember, this conversation is actually at this very moment streaming on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you're not on social media at all, you can call in on the numbers below your screen. Let's give you a quick update of the biggest stories from the African continent at this moment. And as the ongoing mass voter registration exercise enters its 4th week, only 800,462 new voters have registered in different centers across the country. The number is strikingly low compared to the 4.5 million new voters that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission had targeted to register by the end of the 3rd week. Ruth Sarmwe has more.
With 8 days to the conclusion of the mass voter registration campaign across the country, the IEBC is yet to cross the 1 million mark. During the launch of the campaigns, the Commission was optimistic that it would add 6 million new voters to its register, but things are not going to plan as the exercise enters its last week.
We've only done 760,000 plus out of an expected almost 4.5 million. It's a very low turnout. I know Kenyans will normally wait until last minute to come out. So your last minute now is now, because we are closing on 2nd of November.
The exercise has been met with voter apathy, with many Kenyans expressing reasons for lack of interest in taking part in the process.
Mimi sijaregister kama voter kwa sababu hao politicians siku hizi wamekuwa waongo, and from the previous general elections wenye tuliwa vote in hata hawakutimiza ahadi zao mingi, so sasa naona ni kama it will be a wastage of time.
Politicians usually give us empty promises which goes on to be unfulfilled. That's why I feel like me registering, I'm a little bit unbothered with it.
Many others expressed their discontent on how leaders have dealt with the issues affecting the youth.
Vijana wengi tunaogopa kuandikisha kura sababu tunapiga kura lakini hata viongozi hawatusaidii.
Kenya is seeing no value for electing leaders because look at the front runners. No one is offering any alternative. These are the normal recycled people.
Meanwhile, Moto residents in Molo, Nakuru County, lamented on the unending processes they have been subjected to while seeking services just because they live in the border of Kuresoi North and Molo constituency.
Tunakuaga in neutral grounds. Mala wanatuambia tujiandikishe Sirikwa, Mala, Molo, saa ndo tunashindagwa tunapotelea wapi, ndo manake tunataka turudi, tunajiandikisha kurudi Molo. Lakini bado nikienda kujiandikisha Molo, bado unakuta kuna mvutano, Mala kuja na barua ya chief, Mala fanya nini, yani hatusaidiki.
The IEBC is still urging Kenyans to turn up for the exercise.
My appeal is to Kenyans, please come out in large numbers and register because this is your only chance as the commission is coming near you.
Ninaongojea injury time ili niweze kuregister.
Ruth Sarmoi, NTV.
Let's turn to Sudan, and at least 7 people are reported to have been killed and 140 others injured in the Sudanese capital of Khartoum and other cities on Monday after soldiers opened fire on crowds of demonstrators opposing a military takeover in the country. The protesters took to the streets after the military seized power, detained the prime minister and other civilian political leaders, and declared a state of emergency in an unfolding coup that appeared to deal a sweeping blow to hopes for a democratic transition in one of Africa's largest countries.
The state of political unrest in Sudan has seen civilians take to the streets of Khartoum with soldiers firing live rounds at protesters. The violence, largely centered outside the army headquarters in the capital, came hours after soldiers detained Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok, ministers in his government and civilian members of Sudan's ruling council, the information ministry said. According to the ministry, the internet services were cut across the country at around dawn and the main roads and bridges into Khartoum shut before soldiers stormed the headquarters of Sudan state broadcaster in the capital's twin city of Omdurman. The power grab, which comes after weeks of tension between the military and civilian figures sharing power since Bashir's ouster, was condemned by the international community. The European Union, on the other hand, has called for the release of the civilian leadership. America's special envoy for the Horn of Africa, Geoffrey Feltman, said the U.S. is deeply alarmed at reports of a military takeover of the transitional government. The United Nations described the detention as unacceptable. Bashir, who ruled Sudan with an iron fist for 3 decades, is behind bars in Khartoum's high-security Koba prison. The former president is wanted by the International Criminal Court over charges of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity in Darfur.
Now, due to the situation in Sudan, the last 96 hours have been a tough time and for the huge part of the Horn of Africa and the Great Lakes region that have witnessed different kinds of issues that have threatened the security of the countries affected, from terror attacks in Uganda to the DRC, ongoing hostilities in northern Ethiopia to a military coup in Sudan, the political instability in Somalia as well. Kenya seems to be an island of calm in a sea of hostilities. Leila Mohammed sat down with a diplomacy and security scholar and tried to see Kenya's options diplomatically to aid its neighbors or possible means of putting up defenses to protect itself.
The announcement by the head of the Military and Security Council in Khartoum Monday afternoon sealed the deal for the people of Sudan, who have a new military government less than 3 years after another coup kicked out long-reigning Omar al-Bashir from power. Diplomacy experts say that Kenya's eyes and ears should be on alert in case events further north become a regional problem.
The separation of Sudan into 2 different countries especially affected the north.
Across the border, Ethiopia has continued its onslaught against rebels in its Tigray region, a matter that Kenya has said before is looking at with a keen eye.
problems in Tigray and so on are all problems of state formation. There is no country that would want one part of it to simply secede. However, how certain contentious matters are handled and weaned out to the next stage is what is very important, so that they don't jeopardize sub-regional security and stability.
In the Great Lakes region, the thorny issue of terror has reared its ugly head in eastern DRC and Uganda, attacks that have taken place within hours of each other. Groups affiliated to IS have claimed responsibility to both attacks.
We are aware about these groups. We are working very closely with the countries in the region to ensure that some of the foreign fighters, drawn from far and wide, some of them from even locally, who have been involved in those places, that they are brought to book. They are especially those that are bearing arms.
Against this backdrop,
Experts believe that Kenya, which has been on the receiving end of terror, may be keeping its guard up in order to avoid or avert any attempt within its borders.
The problems that are facing the global south, some of which are manifesting in some of the problems of misgovernance and other issues in parts of West Africa and such things, they are delicate, and they need to be handled with a lot of negotiation and foresight.
While the region finds the best possible ways to fix the issues unique to each member, Kenya says that it will stand by its neighbors, as has been its tradition, in order to help where it can. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
Let's turn to West Africa. Nigeria on Monday became the first African nation to launch a digital currency, the e-Naira, a move that its leaders said will expand access to banking, enable more remittances, and even grow the economy by billions of dollars. The e-Naira, will be issued as legal tender, just like the current Naira currency, and will operate on the Hyperledger Fabric blockchain and will follow the official country's exchange rate, as Africa's largest economy looks to tap into the growing popularity of virtual money and cryptocurrencies. Across the world, 5 countries have already launched central bank digital currencies, with another 14, including Sweden and South Korea, in the pilot stage, according to the Atlantic's CBDC tracking project.
The use of central bank digital currencies can help move away more people and businesses from the informal into the formal sector, thereby creating the tax base of the country.
And on to a story that will lead us into the conversation of the day about unemployment and the digital economy. This story is actually from 2 weeks ago, and at least 1.2 million young people have benefited from the Algeria program, a government initiative that seeks to address unemployment in the country. The Ministry of ICT, together with the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, that is KEPSA, and other stakeholders, are rallying the youth to tap into the opportunities available in the digital world. The program, which targets at least 70% of women and girls across the country, sets to empower them with training and capacity building to enable them to navigate through the digital economy.
Its main objective is to make Kenya a freelancing hub where we are introducing young people to digital and digitally enabled jobs. As you're aware, that the digital economy is really a growing sector in which it has great capacity to employ many young people. So Algeria Digital intends to leverage on this growing sector to activate and catalyze jobs for young people.
All right, let's get you started on that conversation of the day. We are talking about unemployment in the country and part of the solutions that are on the table, including opportunities in the digital economy, in the digital space, in the gig economy, whichever way you want to call it. But clearly, the issue of unemployment is a big problem in the country. It's probably the reason why you see every other politician looking for a seat in 2022, hawking it out. Everyone says we will solve youth unemployment. But before then, let's talk about it and the solutions that are probably on the table at the moment, especially with these issues of technology, mobile phones, internet, and everything else around that space. Let me allow me to introduce the people who will help us, of course, put this into perspective this morning. Javas Wakoli is the founder of Zinake Technologies, is with me in studio this morning. Javas, good morning and welcome to the show. All right. Also joining us in studio this morning is Marian Ochola. She's the head of partnerships and programs at Shujaz. Good morning, Marian, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right. We also have some people joining us virtually this morning. Crystal Grace Norman. She's a digital marketing strategist. Good morning, Crystal, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right. And finally, we have Jeremiah Gatonga. He's the Algeria Digital Regional Coordinator at the Ministry of ICT. Jeremiah, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, everyone. How are you?
All right. Thank you very much. Let's begin here. I mean, Javas and Marian, this whole thing of unemployment has been here for decades, and everyone is now offering their own solutions. But forget about the leaders and what they should do and what they are not doing. Let me allow each one of you to just give us your own introductory remarks of the issue of unemployment and perhaps the solutions that are available in the country. Let's start with you, Marian.
Great. Thank you, Victor. So I'd start by introducing Shujaz Inc. as a network of ventures that works to break down the barriers that stand in the way of young people taking control of their future. And one of these barriers is an economic system that's not working for young people. So to put this into context, 3 in 5 Kenyans today are under the age of 25. That's a huge.
That's over 75%.
Exactly. That's a huge amount, part of our population. Yet, 1 million young people are entering, are graduating every year. Less than 10% of those are going on to get a formal job. So we will have to all contend with the fact that 90% of young people entering the job market today will have to earn a livelihood in the informal sector. Yet their whole lives, we've been preparing them for work in the formal sector. So that's the question that we have to address today. The second part of that is the gig economy, right? And we are saying that the gig economy is work that is independent, is work that is task by task, and is work that you're paid by the task. Where are the opportunities? Is it online? Is it offline? And I'm looking forward to unpacking that with you today.
Okay. All right. Super. Javas?
Okay. Like she's pointed out, there's a lot of potential workers in the market, but the opportunities, as it is today, look as if they are less. But the gig economy has been around for so long. The only thing is we need to streamline it in such a way that our young people are competent in some skills, and if their integrity is good enough, we know that they can grow, because there's a lot of initiatives and policies that are really, really the likes of Algeria and such, that are trying to create a conducive environment for them to prosper, not only in self-employment, but actually prepare them for other opportunities.
I'd like us to begin with the basics, Marian and Javas. So every time we have this issue of unemployment and the government not doing enough and stakeholders not doing enough, the solution that we've seen in recent years is let's embrace digital technologies, let's embrace technology, let's embrace the gig economy, let's go into the digital economy. And for anyone who is watching this morning, even myself, sometimes you wonder what is the gig economy, what is the digital economy, and what are online jobs? How can we even separate all this, first of all, even as we try and make sense of this?
So I mean, as my co-panelist has pointed out, we've always had a gig economy. 90% of our economy is informal. It's it's task-based. You're paid by the task. So we've always had a gig economy.
Please drop this from point A to point B, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So start. Come and wash clothes for me. I will pay you after. Take me on a boda ride from Kiserian to Ngong. I will pay you after. That's the gig economy. Yeah. So let's start from there. But I think it's important for us to unpack that we have an online gig economy and an offline gig economy. The online gig economy, according to a report by Masiko, has about 37,000 players or workers. The offline gig economy has about 5 million, actors working on it. Out of those 5 million, 3 million are micro-entrepreneurs aged between 15 to 24. So I would like for us to focus on both the online and the offline gig economy, because a lot of people who are online are mostly urban, right? Yeah. And according to data from our own Shuja's Inc. research, is that 94% of young people have a phone in their household, but only 48% of those have access to a smartphone. And a smartphone is
that's the difference, yeah.
Yes, that's the difference. And the numbers get even worse when you go to young people living in rural areas, and particularly girls aged between 15 to 19 years old. So if we're talking about equality, I think it's important for us to focus both on the online gig economy and, of course, how we can grow it, but also the offline gig economy and how we can support young people in the offline gig economy as well, and a livelihood.
Okay. I'd like to start with the most famous one, the online one. Javas, every time you go on Google, you find job opportunities online. Find this flexible 3 weeks job, whatever. You have 3 hours to spare. Just talk to us briefly about the opportunities for anyone who's watching, is unemployed, and they're trying to look for a job. What are these opportunities that we keep talking about in the digital space?
We all need services of somebody else. And you see, so long as that happens, the digital space is the convenience tool. So technology is coming to make it convenient and easy to access different services and different products. So the gig economy is only bound to grow because it's easier to get better rated. There are review feedback systems that are coming in place to actually get more serious and more reliable. So it's getting better and better. People are getting to trust the workers online because it is harder to, you can get out and tell people what you need done beforehand. So to avoid a lot of, back and forth and waste of time. Yeah. So it's getting easier and easier the tech makes it very easy for people to get work done because they can understand it better. Okay. But at the same time, now, young people can now go online, get enough training, certifications. So it's really opening up a lot of opportunities for both tech to be used, but also the opportunities for me to know who needs my house washed or who needs his house washed. I'm a good cleaner. Okay.
Maria, let me come back to you on the issue that is raised about the training, even before I cross over to Jeremiah. Because, the assumption sometimes is, you're a young person, you have a smartphone. You must be very skilled to work in the digital platform.
So when we think about online gig work, I think there's also 3 types of online gig work. So you have tech-intensive gig work. For example, you're a web designer.
That's when you have to be trained.
You must be highly skilled.
I hope they're listening.
To be able to, to deliver on that. So I think that's one of it. Then the second is tech dependent. For example, you're offering transcription services. So it's not as intensive a skill as web design, but you still need some intermediate skills. And then there's now what is tech enabled. You're a boda rider. You get your customers through a ride-hailing app, right? So those are 3 levels, but we are still talking about tech skills, right? But that's just the technical side. We still have to talk about the soft skills and the hard skills that you need as a young micro-entrepreneur. And this is whether you're online or you're offline. Customer service, problem solving, how do you present yourself? So the soft skills and the hard skills. How do you keep records? How much are you making? How much are you saving? Are you spending less than you're earning? So it's both about the tech skills. It's also about business hard skills. It's also about soft skills. So I'd really want to expand that, to cover the broad range of skills.
All right. Let me begin with a tech-dependent one, and I'll bring in Jeremiah from the Ministry of ICT. Jeremiah, good morning. Really, it got to a point where I think even the government realized that it's not just about going online and finding a job, but you need some bit of basic training and some bit of basic skills. And you've been going very hard on that. Just talk to us about this program. I saw about 1.2 million people now work online, earning an average of 20,000 shillings per month. Just talk to us about that.
So good morning to our viewers and good morning to my fellow panelists. As my fellow co-panelists have said, right now we are so much prepared as a Kenyan economy to go to the digital world. As you can be aware, we have about 112% mobile subscription in Kenya. And the number of people who actually own smartphones is actually increasing. And this is a very good opportunity for the government to let most of our people, to move to the online industry and start earning an income. And the Algeria Digital Program was designed specifically to help Kenyans get their footing into this industry. Number one is the Algeria Digital Program. We are offering the basic trainings that you probably need so that you can start working online. We are aware that probably some of the people have technical skills and therefore they just need the basic trainings and the basic skills or probably the soft skills that you need so that you can start working online and earning a living. But at the same time, we understand that there are other people who actually have nothing, do not have any technical skills. And even for them, we are also trying to offer them some training, some level of training. And finally, we have other people, because the nature of work is by itself changing. Today, you do not have to go and start negotiating with an Uber driver on the streets, but you can just call an Uber driver in your house, a taxi driver in your house, and then they take you to where you are. Again, think of people who are now, when you want to find the best fundis in the town, you do not go to the street and start looking for people on the streets. Right now, you can just look for the fundi who is next to you, next to where you stay, and then you just employ them. And the good thing with the Algeria Digital Program is that we are able to verify even those people who are in the informal sector. If you register or maybe if you book on the Algeria Digital Program, you're going to realize is that we verify your identity. And therefore, as the program, we are not only coming to help people to find the best workers, but also to verify those workers, because that is very important. You do not want anybody to come to your house in the morning, giving them maybe cleaning services, but you start, when you come in the evening, there is something that is missing in your house. And therefore, also verification is very important when we are transitioning from the current economy to the digital economy.
Okay. Jeremiah, if I can hold you on that. So how does this work? Do you see the people that you have trained actually getting these jobs? What are this type of jobs that they are getting?
So in the Algeria Digital Program, we are currently working both for people who are doing the most basic jobs, like as we say, the tech dependent. We are working with several companies that work in the informal sector, and they're trying to digitize the informal sector, like the food. We have partners from the food industry, plumbers, and the rest. And then we also have now the other category, which requires you to have some tech skills, like the transcription. Currently, as a program, we are working to digitize the judiciary through the transcription of the court processes. We are also trying to offer our trainees data entry work, the transcription work, article and content writing. We also have basic, digital marketing skills. Yeah. And again, we are not just stopping there. We want to move to the people who have the technical skills, people who are probably they are web designers, people probably who are they do the geomapping, people probably who are doing programming and the rest. And these people, we connect them to other job categories, which probably, because of their skills, they could get paid more money than other people who are below the pyramid. But that notwithstanding, everybody who joins this program is able actually to get to earn a living.
Yep.
Right now, we are seeing that about 1.2 million young Kenyans are actually earning from the gig economy, from the digital economy, and this is a big number. When before this program started, of course, you were somewhere, but the problem with Kenyans is that you would know that you are earning some amount of money, but you'd not want to let other people know because probably you are thinking that competition would be high and therefore your income would be lowering. But again, you realize that the world is moving to the digital platform. Today, many people would actually prefer going online because outsourcing their jobs online because I probably will get the best candidates to do my work.
Okay.
And I do not have to fear that that at some point my work will not be done, or if it is going to be done, it will be short the work. So right now we are working towards creating that trust that if I outsource my work online, it is going to be I'm going to get the best services, and I'm also going to reduce my time and also my hassle of finding the best worker to work with.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremiah. Crystal is actually one of those people who have benefited from this program. Crystal, what exactly do you do?
So I was trained by Algeria beginning of end of last year, August 2020. And at the moment I'm actually having 4 streams of income courtesy of Algeria. I'm working as a partnership with Forever Living Products, which I do. Also, I'm working as a social media manager, also as a virtual marketing coordinator of a real estate company that is in the United States, and also as a marketing and advertising manager of a real estate company that is in Kenya. And all these jobs I managed to get basically after being trained with the Algeria program. And I managed to get the skills on Facebook marketing, everything that concerns the digital and the e-commerce platform. So Algeria trained me on that. They mentored me for 5 weeks, and I managed to get that job.
Let me hold you on that, Crystal, because there are people who are watching you right now talking about having 4 jobs, and they're wondering, 4 jobs in this economy, how?
Okay, so it's very possible. At first, I remember really not believing in myself because I never thought it would be really possible to embrace the online jobs. Being that in the past, I had, being scammed in the past, I invested some money and I ended up not even, getting a return on investment. But as a result of the training through Algeria, the mentors managed to help us embrace the online working platforms. They taught us all the do's and the don'ts that one needs to follow, when you're going to bid for a job and then you see a proposal, what you need to determine about the client. Is the client a good client? Are they really going to pay you? And for me, it really worked for me. And I'd really recommend the online opportunity.
All right. Thank you. Let me come back to you Jarvis and Marianne, because clearly the assumption most of the time is we are all going to work online. But clearly, I like the classification that Marianne has given from tech-intensive to tech-dependent to tech-enabled, because a huge part of our economy is just going to stay offline anyway. So let's talk about technology now enabling the opportunities which are still, offline. I'll start with you, Jarvis.
Okay. For us at Zenaki, we focused on the tech-enabled environment, and the key challenges usually is the verification of identity, competence, and reliability of these people. But you see, with the feedback and review systems that are in place, and through partnerships with the governments and such, it's very easy, and training institutions, it's very easy to ascertain the competence and even availability. We also have put in place the guarantees that, if someone says, I'm coming to do this amount of work, and then that work is not done, you, as the potential employer, are entitled to get quality service. So we've put in place, in partnership with insurance companies, that if the work is not done right, someone else will do it right. Maybe you can actually try and list those kind of jobs that you're talking about at the moment, because I mean it's something that Jeremiah has actually quite raised, the issue of ensuring that the work is actually done and that I can actually trust you. Okay, for us, we focus on the low-skill workers, technicians, the plumbers, electricians. We're talking about the cleaners. That is both the professional cleaners, doing cleaning services in buildings and such, and those who come to your home. Then we have these other, the mechanics. The construction workers, the warehouse workers. We've really focused on that because there's a lot of that in terms of untapped. Because remember, some of those skills some of those jobs do not really require any specific skill. They just need someone who's there and the integrity of that person. Because that is really, and we have a lot of that, a lot of those people in our economy, and if we do not really focus on them, then what happens to them? Because we have a lot of potential employers, but they do not know where to get them. And that's why you see a lot of people early in the morning rushing to construction sites, to the gates of factories, to the estates, gates, you know,
to
just
line up
to
and
sit
wait
there
for...
and wait for that. But if everyone has the ability to trust a certain platform and now just be seeking those services, book them in advance, you know, schedule them and say, I need these people, and you can check out these people and see the previous employers and, you know, their reviews, recommendations. And
yeah, because I'm looking at a project like, let's say, the Nairobi Expressway. You have probably 1,000, is it not masons, but really the amount of, and everyone is queuing outside there saying, mimi naeza gonga mawe hivi, mimi ni ule mtu wa kupanga pipe. So how does that help perhaps reduce all this commotion and whatnot?
The employer doesn't really need to know any of those people. He just tells them, go register here.
Online?
Yes. All the verification will be done because you have previous employers. If you're experienced, then you have previous employers who are willing to vouch for you. Once in a while, you meet a very good plumber who comes, does a wonderful job for you. You might be aware of a gig platform that they can enlist their skills and you can recommend them and vouch for them.
Okay.
Or as a technician, I might know someone else who is even better than me that I can vouch for and allow them to be, you know. So by these referral systems being in place, people are coming to be confident. Then we have insurance services already integrated in the platform so that if the work that is not done right for whatever reason or an accident happens, you know, someone comes to get hurt in my premises, I'm not liable because they came insured, you know. Or if they do not, so such security and guarantee measures put in place will make it very easy for these people who typically will not really be, will find it very difficult to get, because maybe 5 employers can know about how good you are, but not thousands of them.
Okay. Mariana, I'm looking at this and it's amazing, but I just can't help. Why do many people still use the brick and mortar old way then?
So first to the earlier question around how can we leverage technology to support offline opportunity, because I think it's really important for us to still think about youth living in rural areas who will not have access to these opportunities. And another equally important aspect of this is networks and skills, right? So what we are doing at Shujaz Inc. is having, you know, we have a multimedia platform to support young people. And one of this is a Facebook page called Shujaz Biz. And one of, you know, you go on Facebook and you're able to see small videos of young people like Crystal, you know, who are doing amazing things. And Crystal started by saying that she first didn't believe in herself. So when a young person in a rural area watches Crystal, or a young person in a peri-urban area, or a young person just anywhere in the country watches Crystal's short video saying how she got to believe in herself, that does something, right? It unlocks a sense of agency in yourself that if she can do it, I can do it. So it's that first, the power of, you know, unlocking agency. But second, also the skills. If a young person comes on Facebook or on Twitter and says, I have 1,000 shillings, what business can I start? And people comment, say, you can start an egg boiling business. This is how much you need for kachumbari, this is how much you need for eggs. So networking and skills, leveraging a tech platform, even though the business itself is offline. So there's still a place for tech, even when it comes to the offline gig economy. So I just wanted to plug in networks and skills as equally important.
Okay. Super. But so where does this then mismatch come? Because, I mean, you still have this very brilliant technology that he's talking about, but we still find a huge percentage, by the way, of us still operating the old way. So is it the unavailable? Who's actually supposed to train people with these all things that you're talking about?
And you know, my co-panelists talked about trust. Trust is a big fuel when it comes to, you know, to entrepreneurship. And I think when you think about the online gig economy, you have a demand side and you have a supply side. So you have people asking for services and you have people to provide. So for example, if a corporate is to outsource, say at Nation Media Group, you decide that, you know, part of your web designers are going to be gig workers. There's that perception that it's low quality. if it's coming from people who are not in-house.
Okay.
So I think there's a trust deficit, both from the client side, but also from the demand side. So, and that's what the platforms are sort of trying to achieve. But I think the other thing that we really must talk about is also that the gig economy operates in a gray regulatory area. Where do you go if a relationship doesn't work? If you don't get paid, do young people, where do you find this information, right? What are the social protections, besides my salary, what else am I entitled to? So I think it's also the policy and regulatory environment, and that it's a gray area.
Yeah.
That's part of the area that we also need to unpack.
Yeah.
For
and I'll definitely be coming back to the issue of challenges. So, but let me go back to Jeremiah on this. So, Jeremiah, for many people, they see this. I mean, first of all, most of the time you see this online thing. It's, hey, do you have 3 hours? And some funny link there that you have to click. And for many people, anytime you see that and someone actually offering you opportunities, pleading with you to take this up opportunity, the first thing that comes to their mind always is scam.
Yes, I agree with you, Victor, that indeed in the gig economy, there are so many people who are fraudsters. But I wouldn't be specific that it is only in the gig economy or in the digital economy where we have fraudsters. We have had many instances, even in the informal or the formal sector, where you work for a company, for an individual, but they don't pay you. However, in the gig economy, as my panelist and I had said before, the main thing about it is that we are having a shift towards more people embracing and trusting that their work will be done. And one of these ways is actually being able to verify the identity of the person who is both giving you the work and yourself as the worker. But number two, we are also trying to ensure that the workers who are actually online are actually qualified. That if you have if you say that you have a degree, we are working on a system where we'll be able to verify your competences by linking the Algeria portal to the Kenya Qualifications Authority portal. But that notwithstanding, I think every stakeholder here, both government and the private sector, has a role to play in sensitizing people that the gig economy is the future. And that because there is no doubt that the digital economy is the future of this world. And as Kenyans, we cannot be left behind saying that perhaps we are not well prepared. The government has done its part in ensuring that Kenyans are ready for this. We have had a lot of trainings which have been going on. We have had sensitizations to government institutions, to the private sector, and we are working with everybody. Right now, you would be surprised that even some countries outside the country would actually prefer working with a Kenyan, the same way previously they would work with Indians and the Philippines, because for them, they started working on the gig economy earlier than us. But right now, they are trusting that a Kenyan will actually be able to deliver their work in transcription, because Kenyans are known for quality. There is no better country than Kenya when it comes to quality of education, quality of work that we do. And therefore, we are seeing that in the future, the talent that we have as Kenyans and the infrastructure that the government has put in place is going actually to give us a competitive edge in this industry. We are having fiber optic cables all the way to the villages. And this is an opportunity for young people to take advantage and start earning from online work, because work is moving online.
Jeremiah, allow me to hold you on that again, because, I mean, for a long time, this whole responsibility of job creation has been a responsibility of the government taking care of its people. And most of these jobs online that you see are literally gigs. It's temporary. It's something that you try and do to give you an extra income. So does this mean the government is running away from the bigger problem of unemployment in this country?
No. We are not actually, government is not actually trying to run away from the bigger job of giving people. It's actually the nature of work that is going. Today, we do not want, it's not that we would want that people go for the task-based economy, but that is where the future is. Right now, if I am a startup company, I do not need a HR person to sit in my office and I have to pay them a monthly salary, and their work is probably at the end of the month when they will be preparing the payroll, or probably when they will be onboarding a new employee. Think of it as this work, the task-based economy, as a type of work that is meant to cost cut for startup companies. Also think of it as type of work where you probably be able to access quality talent or top talent, even if you do not have enough money to hire one. And therefore, what we are doing is that we want to ensure that Kenyans can take advantage of the shifting in the job economy. Even in the US today, many companies are actually preferring to work with independent contractors or task-based employees, because that will cut costs for them, and it is going to also to guarantee quality for their work.
Okay.
So we are not trying to run away from anything, but we are just trying to ensure that we keep Kenya in the global perspective of where the future of work is going to.
Okay. Crystal, you're a fourth-year student. This part of the jobs that you do comes with timelines. If it's transcriptions, it means you have a deadline that you need to meet. How do you balance all these things with school? And by the way, at what point did you actually think about looking for a job when you're still in school?
Okay, so, when COVID came about, of course, there were very many people sharing opportunities that are there as a result of the pandemic. And one thing that I had so many millionaires talking about, in these motivational talks, they were talking about having opportunities in the digital marketing sector. So that was last year in August, and I was a second-year student. I was just ending my second year. So I said, why not? Let me just try learning the digital marketing skills and then see if I can get a job. Actually, it was just a risk that I was taking. And that is when I remembered the Algeria advertisement on a certain WhatsApp group. I actually thought it was a scam because I didn't think that there is an organization that can offer free training and then free mentorship. So I said, okay, let me just try it and then see where it's going to take me. And yeah, that's when I did a digital marketing course with Algeria. And then earlier this year in April, I also did digital marketing course again, but this time I was focusing on every other aspect concerning digital marketing. And then beginning of May, I decided also to do virtual assistant because I realized that now I need to go online. I need to work for clients online. And let me just try and test and see whether these online working platforms that people are talking about is actually working. And yes, it's from my experience, it really works.
Okay.
When it comes to about my timing, since I'm a fourth-year student, we are working on our final projects and it's a bit hectic. While I'm doing a course called Strategic Management, Bachelor of Science in Strategic Management. And one of the things that we learn in this course is about strategic planning. But in this case, you're taught about strategic planning for business. So for me, I actually do it also in my life, getting to plan myself daily.
Yeah.
Before I sleep, I ensure that my day tomorrow is actually budgeted for, every time is allocated for each work that I'm supposed to do. So if I'm paid per hour, especially for the online jobs, they pay per hour. So, I would allocate, let's say, between 3 to 5, I'll be doing the virtual marketing coordination with the real estate company in Florida. And then maybe from 10 to 12, I'll be focusing on the social media management of this company that I'm working for in Kenya. So I always allocate my time. There is no time that actually is wasted. Some people tend to think that I work 24 hours a day. No, that's not possible. Like, I'll be so much drained. So I get to plan myself. When I plan myself, I actually get, in fact, more time for myself.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
I must admire the way you organize yourself, Crystal, and I think I might need to reorganize myself. But really, if coming back to you, Marianne and Javas, what I'm picking from her is much of this training that you need sometimes is actually online and free.
Yeah.
Javas.
Okay, there are a lot of skills now you can learn just by watching YouTube. We have even a world champion who trains himself by YouTube videos.
Yeah.
But all about, like, if you listen, she's very disciplined.
Yeah.
So those are the things we need if you really are going to succeed, because when you're in the gig economy, you actually have to deliver what you promise.
Mm-hmm.
So it's better if you can promise less and deliver more. You need to be good. You need to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be very competitive. And you will need to watch out for your interests. You need to make sure that you know your value and you know the minimum you can take.
Okay.
So you really need to invest in yourself. You need to train yourself. And most of the work you can train online because it's just more of an instruction. If I'm a technician on how to repair a generator, I just need to watch the manufacturer's video. So there's a lot of content and training programs that are online that you can use to improve yourself. And what I usually advise young people is continuously improve yourself. Make yourself better. Make yourself more competitive. Learn. Because if the fundis of the 80s who used to repair TVs didn't transition to repair of mobile phones, they're out of business now.
Okay. Marianne, are we accepting that formal jobs will no longer be there? That's a very controversial question I'm asking.
It is actually not controversial because I think the data, and this is actually official statistics, telling us that less than 10% of graduates entering the market are going to secure a contract. It is a reasonable conclusion that the informal is going to be the new normal. And so I think it's really important for us first to redefine success. Because I think, and not just young people.
Actually coming there.
Yeah, all of us, parents, schools, all of us, redefine success. That success is not you securing that formal contract. Success is you being able to go out there like Crystal has, and earning a livelihood and being able to sustain yourself. So I think it's turning that story around because it hasn't been helpful, and then turning it to a more realistic, optimistic story about gig work.
There's a running joke that most of us young people, immediately you graduate, as long as this company, no matter how little the amount they pay, as long as they can give you a computer, kukuwe na mtu analetanga chai, kukuwe na ile nini ya maji ya dispenser, na hiyo kiti ikuwe ile inazunguka, they can literally pay you peanuts and you'd accept to work for them. But anyway, basically, I mean, the point I'm trying to raise is we spend so much time, and it's something you highlighted at the beginning, training all these years for a formal job, for an economy that you talk about 90% of everything else being informal.
Yeah. So the work for all of us, and not just government, for literally all of us working in companies like, Shujaz Inc. that are working with young people, NGOs, all of these organizations, is how do we invest in micro-entrepreneurship? How do we invest in networks, skills, access to capital, and how does the policy regulatory environment shift to support micro-entrepreneurs? So I think it's more about effort and investment catching up with reality, because the reality is that the informal is the new normal. There is I don't see us creating as many formal jobs to keep up with demand over the next, number of years.
Yeah, I was actually looking at the numbers, Jarvis, from KNBS, and maybe this explains part of the reasons that you're giving, that out of I think some 2.5 Kenyans who are looking for jobs at that point, half of them, 1.23 million, had actually given up on job search. And you wonder, where are they in between huko katikati?
See, we have to acknowledge that our community really fancies formal employment. And it's not something we're going to wish it away. There are also institutions that are not very friendly to, because they have their own worries. How do you trust a gig cleaner to come and clean a bank behind? I don't know where they keep the money, but I would assume that they will not just let you. So at the end of the day, we need to develop, like she's saying, the networks, mentorship. If I'm a good plumber, I need to have other people under me, so that with the time you get overwhelmed, you can't do more than 10 jobs. There are some skills where you can't do more than a job per week. So if you have other if you're mentoring other people under you, so long as they have the soft skills, good communication, integrity and such, and they have learned, they will go and fly off. And we're not talking about, today we're in a global economy. If I'm good here, there's a very good chance someone else will see it very, very far. We have our nurses being, the government, I think the UK wants nurses from Kenya. Do you think they just woke up and said, we want nurses from
of all the countries in the world?
So that means they trust. So long as we get integrity, we get competence in our economy, gas will go out, and then we shall have a lot of funds coming in because everyone wants to reinvest back home.
Okay. I know I have to take a break, but before I do it, Marianne, is there something that needs to change with maybe the education system? I know that we have this whole CBC thing right now, but for a world that is moving so fast towards this whole gig economy and literally everything tech-enabled, do we have to change something?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a conversation we all need to have. The education system needs to tell a more realistic story that, linked to what is, what we're actually seeing. But I think to something that he pointed out, so we did a research where we asked young people, when will you consider yourself to have been successful? And young entrepreneurs told us, when I'm able to mentor another young person.
Okay.
So it's a really optimistic story. And young people who've been able to see the value of this, young people like Crystal, are out there saying, I want to mentor others. I want to make others see the opportunities in micro-entrepreneurship. So I think in the meantime, even as we work on changing our education system, because those are long games, I think there's still a lot of opportunity right now, changing that story and providing support.
Okay, changing that story and providing support. But if the potential is so huge as we talk about it, then what's not happening? Why isn't it unlocking all the opportunities that are there for all of us who are looking for jobs? We talk about the challenges and, of course, the potential when we come back from this break. Don't go too far because Javas Wakoli, Marianne Ochola, Jeremiah Gatonga, Crystal Grace Norman, all my guests are staying with me, of course, for this break. You're watching NTV. You're watching your world on NTV this morning. We are talking about the challenge of unemployment in our country and the potential of the gig economy, the digital economy, online jobs, and everything else around that to help us reduce the number of people who are looking for jobs, especially during this period of COVID-19, where many people who are actually already employed have lost their jobs, thereby increasing the number of people who are currently looking for work. And of course, you know what that means for our economy. I'm still with Javas Wakoli, is the founder of Zinake Technologies with us in studio. So is Marianne Ochola, the head of partnerships and programs at Shujaz Inc., as well as Jeremiah Gatonga, who is joining us virtually this morning. He's the Algeria Regional Coordinator at the Ministry of ICT, as well as Crystal Grace Norman, and of course, she's a digital marketing strategist. And of course, I'd like us to now talk about the challenges that are probably holding us back from achieving the potential of what we are looking for in terms of seeing all these opportunities and actually making sure that we reduce the amount of, or the number of people looking for jobs in the country at this moment. Let me just start with you, Jeremiah.
Thank you so much. One of the challenges that people are having when they want to access online or accessing work in the digital economy is, number one, having access to the tools such as the internet and probably a smart device such as a laptop or probably as a laptop. Because if you want to participate fully in the digital economy and be able to get work, you need, number one, internet. You need a laptop or a tablet or a smartphone. Number two, you also need to be aware that actually these opportunities are there, because these opportunities are there. But number three, you also need to be well prepared. When I say that you need to be well prepared, is that you need to have the real soft skills that you need in the digital economy for you to participate. And as the Algeria Digital Program, we are offering all these things at the same time. Number one is that we are training you on the soft skills and the etiquette that you need for you to participate in the digital economy and be able to get employed in the gig economy, in the tech-dependent industry, and the rest. But again, we are also offering free internet and laptops and the computers to all the youths across the country. We have centers located in constituencies. We are currently at 220 centers where you can get free internet and free laptop, free working space, and the rest. But number three, we are also working towards sensitizing people, be it in the private sector, in the public sector, and everywhere else, so that they can start realizing that there are opportunities which are there. We will probably not, you not probably come out of your school, maliza shule, and thereafter you get a formal employment probably for you working in the ministry like me or somebody else, or maybe like you, Victor, working at NTV. And therefore, we need to let people know that there are other opportunities besides you having a formal employment. In fact, even for those people who are already employed, we would also want them to get into this online space, because we know as more people earn more money, the more our economy is going to grow. And therefore, we are doing all that as the Algeria Digital Program. We are doing the training, the mentorships. We also are doing the awareness. We're also providing access to the infrastructure that you need. And we're also lobbying for work for people who probably need to work, because we could have people who are trained, we could have infrastructure, and we could have everything. But again, we do not have the work. So we are still trying to lobby for work from both internally in the country and also outside the country, so that people would actually be able to earn a living. And so that is what we are doing to ensure that as many people as possible are able to participate in the digital economy.
Okay. I mean, Jeremiah, if I can hold you on that, as many people as possible can participate, but the government and Nigeria can only train maybe a bunch, a handful, thousands only. We're talking about millions.
Yes, I agree with you, Victor, that the Algeria Digital Program or any other program, we cannot train everybody. The point is that when we are doing the training, we understand the concept of the ripple effect. That if myself I'm trained on the Algeria Digital Program, I'll probably go and tell others about this Algeria Digital Program, and I will train them. For your record, I have trained all my brothers and sisters about the online work, and they are actually doing it because they know me as the person who works. That way, we are actually not counting my brothers and sisters. We are also not counting my friends that we have trained them. And therefore, we agree that if we are able to train 1 million people, we will probably train 5 million, but we will only be counting 1 million.
Okay.
So I think in as much as probably we can train only a few people, we understand that this is going to have a ripple effect in the economy. Because if I understand there is somewhere I'm getting some money and my friend is not earning, I'm actually going to train them. But probably as Algeria will not be able to count them because we know that you'll be training them informally. But either way, we are still having more people joining into the digital economy and start earning.
Crystal, I don't want you to lie, but have you ever trained anyone in your circle of 5 friends? Have you ever trained anyone? Are they actually any of them in the digital space at this moment?
Yes, I've ever trained a few.
You're on national TV.
Very honest, I've trained people who have personally trained 5. But the other people, I usually recommend them to just register with the Algeria online portal and then book for a class, because I don't have all that knowledge. So for the people who I had the one-on-one talk with, those who came to my place, I actually trained them and helped them to know really the do's and the don'ts in bidding and all that, because of some don't have access to laptops or maybe a really good phone that they could attend the training for the whole day, and also Wi-Fi. So, I get to stand in for them and just help them, because this is a very good opportunity. Since it worked for me, it can work for them too. So, yeah.
Okay. And maybe the question, actually, the original question should have been then, as a person who is actually in this digital space, actively taking up several jobs, what's the biggest challenge that you face right now?
One of the biggest challenges that I face is most of the time just internet connectivity. Sometimes you could be on a meeting or demonstrating something, to maybe your boss who is like, for example, mine is in States. Sometimes the internet connectivity may bring some hitches here and there, and also language barrier. You know, sometimes I have to speak very slow so that they understand what I'm really saying. Yeah, so those are just some of the few challenges that I've been able to come across with.
Okay. Jefferson and Maria, let me come back to you on the gig economy. And even before we talk about the challenges, the one that I have identified most is even with all this presence and opportunities and really a lot of people with those skills, very few small and medium enterprises, which actually form up, constitute a huge percentage of businesses out there, actually source, work from gig economy workers who are in digital platforms. I'll start with you, Marianne.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges from a supply side now, from corporates and SMEs providing opportunities, is that question of perception of low quality.
Yeah.
You know, that there is somebody I cannot see who, you know, is delivering tasks for me. Although what the pandemic has also now changed is your entire workforce is working from home.
Yeah.
So that's one of the challenges. The second is that the way systems are within the SME or within the corporate, they are not structured in a task-based way.
Okay.
You know, you pay people at the end of the month. So how do you then align your systems to pay task by task?
Yeah.
And I think the third one is also, how do you think about benefits?
Yeah.
Back to that question about social protection, about benefits.
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of people, and given the large pool of unemployed people, you just bring somebody and just pay them, you know, at the end of the month. So I think there's an opportunity there. How do we also, you know, inculcate a culture of gig work within corporates?
I'll definitely come back to that, but allow Javas to briefly comment before I come back to that.
Okay, and that brings in the issue of the need for patient capital, because if you are a mason, there are some tools that you need to be able to do your work. And you see, if you do not have the financial capacity to purchase those tools, it puts you at disadvantage. So we need to create an environment where these guys can be able to access the tools and resources they need to succeed. We also need to create a policy environment. Yeah, I'm happy that there's a lot of engagement around this that needs to be in place to not only protect the potential workers, but also the potential employers. So that if we can provide these guarantees, then it will be easier for both, you know, these stakeholders to be able to engage. And then the most important thing, we also need to engage these young people, because what we might think is good for them might not be really the highest priority on their minds. So we need to engage them and really be able to make them part of the conversation, let them participate, let's know what is really, really on their minds. We can provide guidance and such, but let's really listen to them and know what are they looking for.
Okay, Marianne, let me come back to the issue of really the emerging issues, because now we are all of us excited about, the gig economy, this and that, but really there are issues which have been there, and there, even as we have now online gig work, these issues are still there about how do we pay these people? How do we compensate these people? Any other formal job would have social security benefits. These ones don't have. It's just, I pay you and you go home. We also don't know how do we negotiate? Can the government even come in and dictate that, you know, Marianne, you're not paying Victor well as a gig worker?
Yeah. Yeah, and so the question around bargaining power, right? When you're a gig worker bargaining with a corporate organization, there's already a power imbalance there. And so one of the ways in which the ecosystem, you know, is sort of solving for that problem is platforms, right? So in the transport sector, you have your Ubers, and so the prices are set. In general services, you have people like Fundis, Link, you know, all these platforms. In the transcribing services, you also have platforms. So the bargaining power of the many, because if you try to engage as an individual gig worker, then obviously, you know, there's imbalance there. The second thing also is gig work is also, women are not participating as much as men are, and it's around social norms, around some of the most active platforms, the transport sector. I don't know how many times you've hailed a taxi and it's a female driver, right? So there's social norms around that. There's also occupational barriers. Say, for example, fundis, there's occupational barriers around, women participating. So there's also a gender component to it. And I think the last one now, the one for policies and laws, and there's a discussion to be had around labor protection. How do we protect gig workers, as they are operating in that environment? And that's a conversation to be had with the public sector.
Yeah, because I've also seen this in the United States, actually, and even in Kenya here, gig workers, especially the taxi drivers who are with this online digital platforms, demanding that they be recognized as, employees as opposed to independent contractors. And the question is, how do we, whatever that gray line, because if you don't want the work, I can get the next person.
Yeah, and I mean, if you've been following the conversation globally as well, in some countries that has actually come to be. So it's an emerging issue, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me turn back to you, Jeremiah, on this, because clearly there's a lot that needs to change. But maybe from where you sit at this moment, for any young person who is watching, they are looking at Crystal and they're thinking, oh, wow, I'd like to be Crystal. I'd like to be on that space where I can get an extra income, even if I'm still in school, and if I have a job, what you'd call a main hustle. I'd like to do something online. What do they need to do to be Crystal?
All right, thank you. Before I respond to that, Remy also weigh in on the issue of payments.
That's fine.
Which is a very critical issue, an emerging issue with the digital and the gig economy. It is true that globally there has been that discussion, and that discussion cannot just, we will probably be able to come up with answers after looking at what has been happening globally. One of the trends has been, as has already been said, there are some countries which already have started to recognize gig workers as part of the formal, they be recognized as employees. But again, one of the things that the Algeria Digital Program with collaboration with other government agencies are doing is to sensitize everybody who is working in the gig economy to actually start putting more efforts into their well-being and their welfare. We're encouraging as many people who are working in the online, and they probably need to take an NSSF, NHIF, and probably plan for their retirement. That is something we are very concerned about, because we know that also affects the future of this country. Now, going ahead and probably responding to what you have asked, the Algeria Digital Program offers free trainings, free mentorship, free infrastructure to every youth. As I said, one of the issues here is that some youths could probably do not know what they need to do. And many of them actually believe that the government is not doing anything, or maybe the private sector is not doing anything. And probably they are thinking that the only way they could get a job, they could recognize that the government and its other stakeholders are doing something about unemployment. Them being told that you will not do an interview, you will not do, you just praise benefits of Algeria by registering on our portal, algeriadigital.go.ke, and then you just create a profile, we verify you, and then after that you are going to be able to book a session. It's a 2-day training, or maybe virtual, but if you prefer physical, we've now started to roll out the physical trainings. It's just 5 days. And after that, we tie you for 1 month of virtual mentorship with somebody who has been working in the online industry, and they handhold you for some time, and thereafter you can start working and earning a living. But if you also, we understand that some youths do not have challenges with internet and laptops. As I said, we have centers across the country with working with the NGCDF boards. We have constructed centers across the country where anyone can just go in there and identify themselves as Kenyans with their ID, and they'll be given access to these centers. They will not be charged anything. They'll just move in and start working from there, getting free training, and the rest.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you see other people who are charging you, claiming that they are, probably they are not.
Okay. Crystal, because of the sustainability of this, maybe because you're a final year student, have you ever considered going into any other formal job once you graduate, or this is going to be your life?
Of course, I have considered going into the formal because I'll have to utilize my degree certificate. But my main agenda would be to get maybe a job in line with what I studied for and save up enough to be able to, invest in the company that I'm planning to start. So basically, I have an exit plan for getting into the formal job and now focusing on my business.
Okay, thank you. And at the moment, right now, considering you already work, are you sometimes concerned by issues like lack of social security benefits for all the 4 jobs that you do? Crystal? I think we're struggling with Crystal. Yes. But before we take this break, Javas, I'd like you to comment on this, because sometimes much of the online gig work that we still have is still limited to urban areas. And there's this conversation about, unemployment is not in Nairobi only. We have people looking for jobs across the country.
Okay. See, that's true. And the opportunities will only abound if, 1, we create the right environment. 2, there's fair dealings for both the interests of the employer and the employee. So, like she said, the platforms would really come in terms of providing these protections and guarantees to the potential employers, because at the end of the day, it makes it very hard. It's easier for people to go to digital, to Algeria Digital or Zinake and get, if we are providing those guarantees, the way we've trained them and all that. But then, if that is going to happen, then the issue of how will I be paid? Mm-hmm. Do I, we agreed on this.
You're not paying the same amount like you promised.
Or the work we agreed has not been done, or there's more work to be done than what So these platforms would really, really come in terms of making it easier and convenient to get some of these problems that are really slowing down the process easier.
Okay. All right, and this conversation is not for all of us who are in studio and those joining us virtually. It's also for you. Remember, we asked you to be part of this conversation. Let's get to see what some of you have been saying briefly before we take this break. On social media, we have Wairimo Karongo says, it can. Most unemployed are young and techno-savvy. They no longer look for employment. They're busy making money online. Thank you, Wairimo. We have Eric Kiprop says, never, not all people can access smartphones. Thank you, Eric. And we have Makumbi who says it's costly to digitalize jobs. Thank you for your feedback as well, Makumbi. And Okoth Odago says not even a percentage, nothing. Of course, very honest and yeah, we have Ivy Getanda, lastly, who says yes, they can. With the right mindset and willingness to learn new skills, online platforms, young people can get employment and earn. It takes time, but ultimately online jobs do pay. Patience is key, and that's what Ivy Getanda thinks about online jobs as we continue this conversation about reducing or tackling unemployment in the country. We go for yet another break, but when we come back for the final stretch of this conversation, all my guests are staying with me, so don't go too far. All right, welcome back to your world on NTV. We are still talking about unemployment and the youth in Kenya and what can be done to reduce the number of people who are looking for jobs at this moment, especially during the COVID-19 period. Before we resume our discussion with Javas Wakoli, Mariano Chola, Jeremiah Gatonga, and Crystal Grace Norman, we have a quick update for you on, of course, some of the biggest stories, business stories across the country at this moment. And it has emerged that fears that full liberalization of the electricity distribution space could collapse Kenya Power's business prevented the Presidential Task Force on power purchase agreements from recommending opening of the markets to new players. This has been revealed by the Ministry of Energy, which says the ongoing reforms are geared towards achieving more transparency in power purchase agreements known as PPAs, as well as scaling down the cost of power in the country. The government has, however, said it is committed to open access to provisions for the Energy Act of 2019, which promises to liberalize the market in the future. NTV's Nina Shaban has more details.
The September 2021 Presidential Task Force report on power purchase agreements has dominated public debate in the recent past, with Kenyans focused on the pledge to scale down electricity tariffs by 30%.
The full implementation of the report of the Presidential Task Force on review of power purchase agreements that establishes a pathway for the reduction of electricity prices by 30% by or before the 24th of December this year.
Concerns have also emerged that the implementation of the report could amount to a takeover of the energy sector by the government, given the emphasis of the report on the urgent need to renegotiate and cancel, where necessary, some power purchases agreements entered between Kenya Power and independent power producers. Energy Cabinet Secretary Dr. Monica Juma says such fears are unfounded, urging investors in the energy sector not to panic.
Why shouldn't we know the elements of our PPA? Why? Why shouldn't it be public knowledge? Why? Why? Because accountability must go with transparency. You cannot say, you're going to generate power for Kenya, but you know what, it is a secret. Why should it be a secret? We should know. We know the global averages for production of power. So let it be competitive, because that is who we are. We are a competitive economy.
The government has also revealed that the option of liberalizing the energy sector was considered as part of the recommendations by the task force, but fears as to what this would mean for the sustainability of Kenya Power called for caution.
You must balance the two interests, so that if you then push towards an immediate discussion on liberalization, then you'd have to think about what is the impact for current PPAs that have been signed, and markets, segments that it is expected to utilize for purposes of supporting, these contracts that it has entered into. So whereas you may open it up on one side, you'll still have to then face the burden of how do you then sustain KPLC.
This caution notwithstanding, the government says it is committed to the full implementation of the open access provisions of the Energy Act of 2019, which will mark a bold step towards liberalizing the energy sector.
It is being undertaken by our regulator, driven by the regulator and also the ministry and all the sector, to just be able to guide on the parameters and the frameworks to be able to do that. Because again, it is also good to do it while protecting the sectors which are there, that is Kenya Power.
The government has planned reforms in the energy sector in 3 phases: short-term, mid-term and long-term. And the state says that it is prioritizing the sealing of revenue leakages, bedeviling Kenya Power as one of the short-term measures aimed at putting the struggling distributor on a sound financial path. For NTV, I'm Nina Shaban.
And an application by businessman Humphrey Kariuki and his co-accused, which sought to bar the 3 Kenya Revenue Authority prosecutors from conducting the multi-billion shillings case, citing conflict of interest, was yesterday dismissed at the Milimani Law Courts. Kariuki and his co-accused are facing off with KRA in a case number 1333 of 2019, where they are implicated in the alleged possession of counterfeit excise stamps, fraud in relation to tax, and failure to pay taxes, with the revenue implication standing at a staggering 17 billion shillings. Despite the dismissal of the application, Humphrey Kariuki says he is confident that justice will be served through the legal process.
The issue that we have raised before you is whether the complainant, the investigator, can, in our constitutional architecture, also be the prosecutor in that case and leave the right to fair trial uncompromised. That is the issue before this court. We've never raised this issue before. And in fact, I'm not aware whether it has arisen again.
In our capacity as the gazetted public prosecutors, we have numerously defended applications by the defense in this matter. The question that then begs, Your Honor, is what is this that has now prompted at this time when this backlog matter is about to kick off for the defense to make such an application?
In my ruling, I mentioned the issue of sideshows. I repeat the same again. Today was a date set for hearing. There was more than adequate time from when the charge sheet, defective or not, was presented. Whether it's stamped or not, whether it's valid. The one I have in court has the stamp.
All right, let's now pick up from where we left our conversation about unemployment and the probable solutions and the potential solutions for, of course, reducing or tackling unemployment in Kenya. I'm still with my guests, as I told you earlier. And as we go towards the last, of course, bit of this conversation, Marianne, now that we still have a challenge with the issues of social security, there are people in the gig economy who are looking for issues like loans, for instance, which they cannot get as it is right now. How can we perhaps make them more, the industry more attractive to continue attracting people, even as this whole conversation that you're talking about with policymakers continues?
Yeah, so those are two issues, right?
Yeah.
Access to capital and the policy environment.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to access to capital, one of the downsides of having structuring around a formal economy,
yeah,
yet a majority of our population is in the informal economy,
yeah,
is that now there's a matching issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as a young person, how is a bank going to say do a credit assessment on me,
mm-hmm,
right? Because I'm not participating in the formal economy,
okay,
where you have all these formal documents to show that you and I can take a bank statement, right? But what happens if you're operating in the informal economy? So I think one of the things we need to think about is these skills that young people are acquiring,
yeah,
in the informal sector. How do we present those, right, as digital assets,
yeah,
you know, to a bank, for example? And how can the bank and the financial service providers and all of, you know, international development actors, everybody providing capital to this sector, how can we be a lot more innovative around how we structure financial products and tailor them for young people? And the best way to do that is to actually ask young people what they need and work with them,
yeah,
right? So I think on the access to capital side is an innovation piece, and there's a way for us to think about how do we allow informal sector assets to be carried. Then when it comes to the policy and regulatory environment, it's the same thing, working with young people as we develop policies, as we develop laws, digitalizing application of licenses, making taxes more friendly to the informal sector. So I think it's a question of all of us, including young people. Not for them,
yeah,
with them. I think that's how to think about solutions moving forward.
Okay. Javas, I'll allow you to weigh in on that briefly before I ask my next question.
Okay. We need to package, because I believe that the competence in skills,
yeah,
and integrity of a person is as good an asset as a piece of land.
And quantifying that before the bank is where the problem comes in, I think.
Yes, but you see, there are already innovative credit solutions, though expensive, already in the market.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of engaging with these people and finding more friendly credit to the young people. So we have affirmative action, you know, funds and such. But we need to come up with ways by which we can support young people to access credit in a friendly manner, and within the little resources that we can value, and build new assets that we can use to present as security to the
okay.
potential creditor.
Okay. Jeremiah, what concerns you most right now about all this conversation about online work and what needs to change?
I think for me, what concerns me most is that I get pained when I see young people, despite knowing that online work exists and it can make them earn a living, they still want to live in a quote unquote in the 19th century.
Yeah.
That means that they just still want to live wherever they are. They don't want to change and the rest. I think it is time probably we would want that the attitude of Kenyans, and not only Kenyans, I'm not being very harsh on Kenyans, but probably they need to change so that they can embrace change. We all know that change is not something that probably it's going to come within a day or maybe 2 days or 1 year. But it is high time that as young people and also as parents, also we change how we view the achievements of our children. Because right now, there are very many people who probably, even if they earn, their parents will not recognize that they are earning until they have a job. And they would prefer their child to still be walking to an office and with a suit and a tie. And and then they can say that their children have already started to work. But if I'm working at the comfort of my home, some of our parents who are back in the village, they will not believe that we are working. And therefore, probably that is a conversation that we need to have as Kenyans and also as parents, that we need to recognize that online work is work. That said and done, I think also from where I stand, we probably need to ensure that we have policies that are friendly to businesses that support online workers, and also businesses, how we can protect businesses that are also using online workers. That way we will be sure that the employer is actually happy with the people who are working for them. But at the same time, we will ensure that workers are also happy and they will not desert their duties. That once I give you a task, I'm not going to perform it. And again, of course, we also need to support young people who are working online. In terms of, as you have said, the social security is still a big issue that needs to be addressed. And again, also the financial market. But I believe that we are making progress. We may not do a lot in terms of maybe this year or maybe next year, but with time, the emerging things, we live a day at a time. Probably in the future, we are going to have all these issues sorted. But for now, we will try as much as possible to sensitize people about the digital economy and its benefits to the people.
Okay. Crystal, one of the ways to change the perception that Jeremiah is talking about is actually proving that it indeed pays. Because most of the time we are so used to these other formal jobs because they pay well. But if we can indeed quantify that, you know what, I work online and I actually make good money, I mean, that's where the perception changes. So maybe we can start here. Maybe from where you sit, does it actually pay?
Actually really pays. When I look at my journey, actually ever since I started the online work jobs, managed to really take so many goals that I had in mind. Something that I knew I would stick probably when I get unemployment, like buying myself a new phone, furnishing my own home. Like I never thought I would ever be able to achieve these goals rather until maybe I had gotten a job. But here I am, by second year, I was already making some good money. Third year, I bought myself a good phone, furnished my house. I've been able to take so many goals as a result of the income I get from the online work.
Okay. Thank you, Crystal. And of course, as we wrap up this conversation, because of time, I would like to take the final round of closing remarks from all of you. I'll start with you, Crystal. There's so many people who are watching you this morning and they're thinking, oh, I want to be like Crystal. I want to have several jobs and making an extra shilling on the side. Talk to them.
Okay, so my advice to the youth basically is to honestly get out of your comfort zone. Being successful is not a really comfortable journey. There are gonna be very many uncomfortable, very many moments when you're going to be very discouraged. You might want to give up. I've been in situations where I never really trusted the online work at some point because of my past experience. So, I decided, let me take the risk. And I would advise also the youth to take the risk and at the same time to also learn to upgrade their chances of getting jobs online by getting certifications on various courses that are being offered online. Like I can say at the moment I have 7 online certifications. So when I'm going to look for a job, there is that added advantage that I have when my employer sees that I have 7 certificates on areas that they are looking for, then it gives me an upper hand. So for the youth, get out of your comfort zone, take the risk of trying the online work, and probably we've talked a lot about the online jobs and they're asking themselves, now where should I start? If there's a place you need to maybe start with, is the Algeria digital program. They're going to help you, they're going to train you, mentor you, and they're going to hold your hand during the whole time and help you get be successful in the online work, from my experience.
All right, and if you follow all that, perhaps you might become like Crystal or even better than Crystal. But the people running that program are also with us in this conversation. That is Jeremiah. Jeremiah, just give us your closing remarks for this conversation.
Thank you, Victor, for hosting us. I want to start by saying that to offer a word of encouragement to our youth there. We normally say that, in my language, we say that if you are very hardworking, you not track somebody who will refresh you. And therefore, I want to encourage our youth that if you become very useful and very hardworking, we will definitely come to refresh you as a society, because the society actually values people who are successful, and that's why everybody's role models today are people who have achieved one thing or another in their life, be it in the social life, their business life, or any other area. But also I want also to encourage them that if they have challenges, we are having issues of mental health challenges right now. The COVID situation has pushed us to the corner. Please talk to somebody. And if you are frustrated with your online work or maybe earning a living, I would want to encourage you, kindly join us at the Algeria Digital Program. We are going to help you at least to start earning online, because there is an ocean of opportunities in the digital economy. And therefore, if you just sign up on the Algeria Digital Program and then you start booking our sessions, we have so much resources that are available for you as a Kenyan, and these are it's for you to take the advantage of this. That's it and done. I want to wish everybody a good day.
Okay, and before I let you go, maybe for anyone who's interested about that program, is it a continuing program, by the way, or is it something you graduate and it's done? Jeremiah?
Yes, Victor.
Yes, I was asking if this Algeria program is actually a continuing program that I can enroll at any time, and how can I actually do that enrollment bit?
So the Algeria Digital training or program works in such a way that it is continuing every day of the week. There are trainings that are ongoing. We have trainings on Monday and Tuesday, the virtual trainings, and then on Wednesday and Thursdays. And then for the physical training, of course, we will have to work with other local areas, other local leaders, so that we know where we can pitch our tent and start training. But for now, the trainings are free every day of the week. Every week, we are running out programs. They just need to go to www.algeriadigital.go.ke, and they create an account there. And from there, they just book a session, and it is free of charge. And if you also don't have internet, or a laptop to attend the training, we're encouraging you to visit our centers across the country. We have about 220 centers across the country. We're also working with the universities and the TVETs. They can be able to work, they can actually, if they're students, we can actually come to their institution and we do the training for them. It's also going to be free of charge.
Okay.
So we're encouraging people to visit algeriadigital.go.ke and book a session with the training. And besides that, we also working with the artists. There are people who are in the music industry. We have 4 fully equipped centers in Komarok, in Nyeri, and Kisumu, where they can just go record their music and their talent, and then we'll be able to promote them.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jeremiah. A reminder that it's www.algeria.go.ke. Javas, just give us your final remarks.
My advice to the young people is, if you are honest, if you are passionate, and if you are competent on something, it's not a matter of if, but when you'll be successful. So let's redefine success. Ask for help, network, invest in your time, learn continuously. You will be okay.
Okay. And for anyone who's looking for the service that you mentioned about connecting employers to the people who are seeking work?
They can just come to zinake.com. You'll be able to you can sign up, we shall verify your competence, or if you need a low-skilled individual, just come. There are different forms. We have also an APK on Play Store, and so you can use the website or you can use the app.
What are this low-skilled workers you're looking for?
Any cleaners, technicians, errands.
Yeah.
So under that, there are also whole categorizations.
Yeah.
Basically, just visit. You can tell us what you can do.
Yeah.
And we shall tell the world what you can do.
All right. Very brilliant work by Javas and Zinake. And finally, for you, Miriam, give us your closing remarks.
I think it's to say that there's obviously a big potential in digital. And it's great to hear about platforms like Javas's and Algeria.
Yeah.
And I guess for us at Shujaz Inc., it's to say, even as we design for what's coming, which is large-scale digital-enabled work, we also need to work with young people where they are right now. And that's the huge numbers that are still in rural areas that do not have access to smartphones. So even as we talk about digital, let's also support young people where they are as they prepare, for that future.
Okay.
And it starts with telling a different story about micro-entrepreneurship, celebrating people like Crystal, like we are today.
Yeah.
But it's also about unlocking the promise of the informal sector through networks and skills. And at Shujaz Inc., welcoming young people to join Shujaz Biz on Facebook, to follow DJB on Facebook, and to meet other role model young people who are making an impact through micro-entrepreneurship.
Okay, and for anyone who's wondering what happens if I join Shujaz, what is it about? Quickly.
So if you like the Shujaz Biz page on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram,
Yep.
if you follow DJB, then you will learn from other micro-entrepreneurs skills, you will connect with them, access to markets, access to opportunities. So it's just about connecting with others who are like you.
All right. And I hope from all that Crystal, Jeremiah, Javas, and of course Marianne have had to say, we've done our part to try and provide solutions to this very big problem, pressing problem in our society today, the issue of unemployment and how we can all partner and do something together to help, of course, reduce the number of people who are looking for jobs and, of course, grow our economy during this period when, of course, we're still recovering from the ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic. This morning on Your World, that's where we live this conversation. Many thanks to my guest this morning, Javas Wakoli. In studio with me is the founder of Zinake Technologies. I think he's explained the platform that connects, of course, employers and employees and people who are looking for low-skilled jobs. Also, many thanks to Mariano Cholo. She's the head of partnerships and programs at Shujaz Inc. I think she has also elaborated how to go about that and the benefits, as well as Jeremiah Gatonga is the Algeria Digital Regional Coordinator by the Ministry, of course, the Ministry of ICT, and I think he has also elaborated how you can go about signing up for the Algeria program. And finally, to Crystal Grace Norman. Crystal is a digital marketing strategist. Other than this one, she has actually 3 other jobs and she's still a final year student. I think from all I can ask myself is, what am I doing with my life? And I hope this challenges you to also push yourself during this period to at least earn an extra income. That's where we leave it this morning. On behalf of the entire team, it's goodbye and God bless. My name is Victor.